You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on ngscsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis on all things sports. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, subscribe to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports, and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
Are you looking for a place to listen to your favorite music and sports? Look no further. WLSN, the Lieb Sports and Music Network, is a web-based music and sports network. Our network was created to provide authentic, high-energy entertainment through live streaming to a national audience. We play popular music while hosting podcasts from all over the world. Curious? Check us out on the web at liebsports.com. That's LEEIB sports.com. Or find us on the TuneIn Radio app. Got Alexa? Just say, Alexa, play WLSN on TuneIn. WLSN is America's #1 blog-themed sports and music network.
Hey, everyone in, let's go. Huddle up on 3. 1, 2, 3, huddle up.
I don't want them to gain another yard.
You blitz all night. If they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm going to take every last one of you out. You make sure they remember forever the night they played the Titans.
Extremely proud of you guys on your focus and your ability to lock in all week long this week. So, what I'm going to do now, okay, because you're going brand new head football coach.
And now, welcome everyone to the Huddle Up Podcast.
We did it our way, baby! We did it! We did it! We did it!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Huddle Up Podcast Live, the final show of 2021, New Year's Day, just a few days away. We're here December the 28th, 2021. We are glad to be back with you for another week. Unfortunately, no Kyle this week. It's the time of year, everybody getting a little under the weather, so we wish Kyle the best as he recovers. Hopefully he'll be back with us next week. But we got Matt to my left. Matt, how we doing this week, my friend?
Doing well. Another Eagles win. Saw EJ finally had some correct power rankings, which we'll talk about later. So
did he?
That's a good start. I thought so. I at least agreed with his last place.
I think he at least got most of the teams in the top 10 correct. We'll get there.
Bottom 5 is spot on.
This teased like a sitcom. This teased like a fucking radio show.
I think the bottom 4-5 is correct. EJ,
100%.
how we doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Luckily had a little scare last couple of days, but COVID scare. But thankfully we are all good. All four of us, me, wife, and the kids, all tested negative today. So
good.
Okay.
Well, we are good.
I had to wait 4 hours in line to get the shit done, but whatever.
Yeah, that kind of seems to be the name of the game as of late. No matter where you are, it seems to be flaring up, and tests are hard to come by and things like that. So,
hey, vaccines work though.
I mean, they do.
I'm vaccinated.
The people that aren't getting super sick and dying are the ones vaccinated, but neither here nor there. Remember, our home network is, of course, NGSC Sports at ngscsports.com, our secondary home, the Lieb Sports and Music Network. So, guys, let's jump right into it. We have some sad news coming in the NFL segments a little bit later, so we'll start. Since we are talking about COVID, and we're talking about protocols and illnesses and all of those sorts of things, the college football playoff and the New Year's 6 bowl games, they released late last week their protocols for the the playoffs, and the New Year's Six games. So let's look at them here. The Fiesta and Peach Bowls. If either of those games would not be able to be played on New Year's Day, the College Football Playoff Bowl game and ESPN shall attempt to identify an alternate date for the game within 1 week of the scheduled date. If no date could be identified, the game would be considered a no contest. And then this is the ones, I mean, because let's be honest, Fiesta, Peach Bowls, I think what the Rose
The
Bowl,
lesser bowls, right? The lesser.
you know, those games are of no real consequence.
Right.
You know, big games for the schools, but no real consequence when it comes to a national champion. But so let's look at how the College Football Playoff is going to treat the semifinals and the potential national championship. So when we're looking at the semifinals, if one team in either the Cotton or Orange Bowl is unavailable to play, the unavailable team shall forfeit the game. Its opponent would advance to the national title. If both teams are unable to play in one of the semifinal games, either the Cotton Bowl or the Orange Bowl, the semifinal game would be declared a no contest. The team winning the other game would be declared the national champion. If three of the four teams, so we're talking Cincinnati, Alabama, Georgia, and Michigan, if three of the four teams are unable to play, the semifinal game in which two teams are unable to play would be declared a no contest. The other semifinal game, the team unable to play should forfeit, and the opponent would be declared the automatic national champion. And then, so let's start there. Let's deal with the semifinals. Then we'll talk about the national champion if we get to one. EJ, we'll start with you. What do you think about the way that the committee and ESPN are and all the parties here have planned for this?
It feels harsh. It feels harsher than the lesser bowl games, honestly. Like you're saying, the lesser bowl games actually has more chance to be rescheduled based on ESPN and the partners that influence this to put a game within a week. Whereas if wow, this is shocking, actually, in my opinion. That's a little harsh, in my opinion, but
I think it might have to do with they want to try to get the national championship game as close to the actual date as possible, so you're not running into spring semesters for schools. You're also not, depending how they would have to reschedule it, you're not running into any NFL conflicts,
right?
When you're getting into the postseason. So I think it's more they're trying to, they don't want to move the semifinal games, which would then move the final game.
There's certainly more stuff around that influences that decision. I get it.
Sure.
But from the opposite point of view, it looks harsher, doesn't it? I mean, seriously.
I mean, a little bit. When you're just talking about automatic forfeits and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but God, that's harsh.
Crazy, right, Matt? What do you think about the way they're handling the semifinals?
I mean, it just seems like they're going to be creating a big mess. I mean, it's going to be a mess no matter what happens.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, to have your fallback option be three teams forfeiting and just naming someone a national champion with nothing more than you made it to the Final Four is just, you want to talk about an asterisk. I mean, even if Notre Dame somehow lucked into something like that, I don't know that I would necessarily even be like proud of saying, national champion.
You kidding me? You give me a natty, I am celebrating now.
Necessary, Jim.
50. Are you kidding? I am running laps around my neighborhood.
It'd be the same if like the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl and the other team had to forfeit and they just got the trophy. Like, I'll take it. But I'm not going to be like,
give the Cowboys number 6, however they can get it. I don't care.
To be honest, I say that, but I actually, if I was in Jim's shoes and that happened to me, I'm like, yep.
I'm
Giants.
riding around Central
I mean,
PA
I'll-
blaring "We Dem Boys" out of my window if the Cowboys win the Super Bowl. I forfeit. Are you kidding me?
I'll take it, but I'm not gonna gloat. I'll
Matt,
say that.
it sounds like somebody who's never had a championship before, outside of Capitals, of course. Recently,
Not since I was
never called a championship ever. Really, college football, NFL, dry spell, buddy. I get it. I get it.
I was 10.
I really
The Cowboys win the Super Bowl. This golden voice was not yet cracked yet. Either.
Makes me appreciate me. At least in the last 15 years, I've had 3 NBA championships, 2 Super Bowls. I remember the Giants' second Super Bowl in 1990, by the way, too. I was 10 years old at the time it happened. And so I and Rangers hockey back in 94.
Yeah, man. Notre Dame, I was 3. The Orioles haven't won a World Series in my lifetime.
No.
And the Cowboys, I was 10. So, I mean, the Capitals in 2018. Like, I mean, that was it for me as a grown man.
I'll admit, I've been a little spoiled last decade and a half. I'll admit. And I beat Brady twice in the Super Bowl. Thank you very much. Sorry.
They did. And which had to have been strange for you, like it was.
No, hey, Kyle, listen. Kyle's not here. Don't start spewing your bullshit. Kyle's not here now. Don't start adding. Don't start filling the space here. Kyle's not here to fill. But yeah, it was a little weird.
All right, let's look at the national championship because let's be honest, we're sitting here on Tuesday.
Yeah.
All 4 teams are, the teams are in their respective cities. As far as I can tell, all the teams are being as cautious as they can be. All activities are contained within themselves, not having much contact outside of their bubble as much as they can. So by all accounts, it looks like the games this week are going to go on as scheduled on Friday at 3:30 and 7:30. We'll predict those here in a minute. But looking at the national championship, if the team's unavailability is determined after the semifinals have been conducted, the national championship game in Indianapolis may be rescheduled to no later than Friday, January the 14th. If one team is able to play, the other is not, and the game cannot be rescheduled or is rescheduled and cannot be played, then the team unable to play shall forfeit the game, and the other team shall be declared the national champion. If both teams are unable to play on either an original or rescheduled date, then the game shall be declared a no contest, and the national championship shall be vacated for this season.
Let's go to Florida State. Fuck it. Seriously.
I mean, no.
Now here's what will happen, Jim. So Notre Dame will beat Oklahoma State, and then all 4 teams will be unable to play. So Notre Dame, as the 5th ranked team with a victory, will be named national champion.
That's how it should go. I mean,
that's what Jim would do, probably.
If the 4 teams above them can't play, then why would you not award the number 5 team?
So basically, the big hurdle here is more like getting past at this point. We're 2 days away from that. If you get past these next 2.5 days, we'll be okay.
I mean, how many games have been canceled in the last 2.5 days, though, as well?
There's been a lot. Yeah, there's been a lot of bowl games that have gone down. But I also wonder how.
We also just had the holidays where those players were probably with family. So there's
because I know like even Notre Dame had said like they weren't restricting players from travel.
Right. I really hope this, and this might play into this too. Also, the CDC, shortening their isolation rules. That should help a little bit of the damage, some degree.
I mean, you would. I wonder if that'll have an impact in college football. We've already seen, as announced today, like it is the NFL is adopting that new policy. Regardless of how anybody might feel about it, I mean that's the policy that's going forward. So, it may impact that as well. I'm sure with those revised protocols, I'm sure the college football playoff is going to look at that, really tightly as well. Because I think a lot of those games, the games that have been canceled, like this week and things, I have to wonder if the bubbles around those teams have not been as strict as like I know at least with Michigan, players, they didn't travel home to see family at the holidays, and they've kind of kept a really tight bubble. I would assume the other 3 teams are.
I'm assuming. I'm going to assume that at the very least, the 4 teams are in the national championship picture. at least a little more stricter on protocol than say the other teams outside of that, just because of
Yeah,
the.
I mean, I know a week and a half ago, like the entire Michigan team, like got boosters like together.
That's good.
You know, and you know, I know, like at least with Notre Dame, like at Notre Dame, you have to be vaccinated to be on campus and in school. So, like, and I'm sure there's other schools of that way as well. I don't know how it is everywhere, but you know, so it's. I think college campuses in some states have been more strict with stuff like that. So yeah, I would definitely hope and think that if you're in contention for the national championship, that your program is taking things with the utmost seriousness at this point. Like that would be the smart play. So yeah, I think the games are going to go on this week, and I mean I would be really kind of surprised if we don't get a national champion, because it's going to come down, you know, whoever wins on Friday, you have what, a week and a half until the original date of the national title game, at worst 2 weeks from the national title game, and the latest it can be rescheduled. Like I think these programs are going to do their best, as they have been, to keep things, you know, to keep things kind of controlled there.
Right.
But we'll see, man. Like it's like I said, for me, if you know, if it's my team and I don't care how they're winning, you can call me desperate, you can call me a sad sports
Oh, you're
fan.
desperate. No, it's desperate. It's okay.
I'll be the first to admit it.
You know what? I'm with you too. If I'm in your shoes, I probably do the same damn thing too. Also, so I'm not gonna hate by any means necessary.
Exactly. If my team can stay the healthiest, then by all means we should be champion. But let's look at this.
Basically, my team can't make a damn bowl game to begin with, so whatever.
Right. It doesn't matter how safe they are. Let's look at the games this weekend in college football. We'll start with the semifinal games. The Cotton Bowl, number 4 Cincinnati taking on number 1 Alabama. Alabama, a 13.5-point favorite in this one. 58 is your over/under. This one is on Friday, New Year's Eve, 3:30 on ESPN. Man, like I want this game to be competitive in the worst way. Like I really do. And like there's part of me, like I've listened to some analysts and I've listened to some podcasts, and I keep hearing people say, like, well, you know, Cincinnati in their biggest games this year have shown up and they beat up opponents, and Alabama had one really great game and they underperformed against teams they shouldn't have underperformed in. We're looking at you, Texas A&M. We're looking at you, Auburn. We're looking at, you know, there's a lot of games on that schedule. We talked about them leading up to the SEC title game, and then the SEC title game happened, and I'm just like, which was the anomaly here? Was it the Alabama that we saw for 12 games, or was it the Alabama that we saw for one game? I'm going to take a hopeful pick, and I'm going to say Cincinnati's going to cover the 13.5. I don't see them winning this game, and it's probably just a fool's hope that they're even going to cover, as sad as that is. But I don't have it in my soul anymore to pick Alabama in a college football playoff. I'm just so done with it. In terms of the over/under, I think the only way that if you're Cincinnati, if you're going to cover or even have a chance, you're going to have to keep the score down. So I'm going to have to stay under on this one. Matt.
I mean, for all the points you made about Alabama and the real Alabama team, we can say the same thing with Cincinnati, as we saw them struggle with a lot of even more mediocre teams than we saw Alabama struggle against.
Look,
looking at you, Navy.
Talk about those.
So it's for that reason alone. I mean, say what you want about him, but Saban is going to have these boys ready to play Cincinnati, and I think he's going to have them ready to embarrass Cincinnati.
Shut your ass.
I think that's kind of the mission in terms of what Nick's looking to do this season. Is I think he heard the doubt, I think he heard the critique, and I think we saw the start of him turning things around, unfortunately, in the SEC championship game. So I'm going to take Alabama minus the, was it 13 and a half?
13 and a half, yeah.
Yep. I think 2 touchdowns is a safe bet. And I'll take the over. I think Alabama's just gonna lay it on.
Come after me!
EJ, go ahead.
This is easy for me. Look, Jim, I want what you're saying to be true, that Cincy actually not only covers, but actually wins this game. But you're giving Nick Saban almost entire month to prepare for this game.
Oh, I know. Look,
and that's the thing.
Not only that, Jim, but also remember, this is the best Alabama team we've ever seen.
Ever.
That's true.
Ever of all time.
No. Right. But seriously, at this point, look, Alabama, the thing is, and it holds true, like which team is real, but Alabama gets every team's best shot pretty much every week because of who they are. You know what I'm saying? You have to give a little credit there. Like teams like A&M and Auburn, they're not that great, but because of familiarity and because of the conference, all that, you're going to get some games that may be a little closer, or by all means, Alabama loses outright, like in an anomaly. But when it comes time to ball, Nick Saban, more times than not, shows up. It has his teams prepared. So I hate to say this, but Bama wins. Bama win a blowout. They cover the spread, and I would say, what was it? 59 points. You said
58.
The 8. I'll go under. I can see something like a 41-10 game here, or something. I hope I'm wrong, dude. I hope I'm wrong because I'm moving Cincinnati to win this game. But I just
You want to crown them? Then crown their ass.
Logic tells me Alabama's a better team. Look again. We were praising Georgia all year long, and what happened?
Yeah,
I gotta say about that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we were all saying that Georgia was hands down the far and away tier one.
On this panel picked Georgia win that game. Oh, Bama win that game. Nobody.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we all thought Georgia was untouchable this season.
Right.
Yeah.
And not only won the game, they won in the blowout. They won it going away.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, and I still think I think Georgia fooled a lot of people, all of us included. And I'm not saying Georgia isn't one of the 4 best teams in college football, but they fooled a lot of people, and these analysts that should have had egg on their face and then had to spend all this time backtracking or just praising Alabama. I'm not downing on Alabama because of what they did in the SEC title game, but I think that was as much about Georgia, and you look at their schedule. I think that was as much about Georgia as it is about Alabama. And look, I'm not under any disillusion that Cincinnati is going to keep this close. It's just for me, I got to make that pick because I'm just sick of Alabama.
I pray you're right, brother. I pray you're right.
I really am.
I want to be wrong here. So,
if it's what was the line in the Miracle on Ice? If we played them 90 or 100 times, 99 times, they probably beat us, but not tonight. Let's hope. Okay. Can Al Michaels call this game? I know he works for NBC, but can we get him on the call for this?
Right, it'd be awesome.
But not Chris Collinsworth. Let's keep Chris Collinsworth. All right, let's go to the other one, the Orange Bowl. Number 3, Georgia, taking on number 2, Michigan. Georgia actually a 7.5 point favorite in this one. 45.5 is your over under. This one Friday, 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN. I think that 7.5 number is way too big. I don't know that.
Yeah.
I get it. You're looking at the entire season as a whole, and we're seeing what Georgia did for an entire season. But to me, I think if you watch the film from that SEC title game, you don't think that Harbaugh and Gaddis and that coaching staff can't draw up a similar game, and use the weapons that they have, the run game that they have, the offensive line, controlling the line of scrimmage, and then being able to spread the ball as well. 7.5 is way too big a number. I mean, I'm predicting Michigan to win this game outright, but without a doubt cover that 7.5. And that 45.5 feels like a pretty good number.
In Georgia's favor, right?
They're 7. It's 7.5. Georgia's a favorite. Yeah. 45.5. I might go a slight under because going to the same way I said it, that for Michigan to beat Ohio State, they're going to have to control the ground game, control the clock, and maybe keep the opposing offense off the field. So I'll go under. Michigan plus in the under. EJ.
The problem is what the spread feels like it's based on only one thing: recency bias, based on a 1-game sample. The last time you saw Georgia play was their absolute worst game of the year, which obviously because
your mic cut out, bud. Can't hear you.
Sorry about
Gotcha.
that. I mean, the spread feels way too big just to start there. I mean, if we use the entire year as your way to figure out more, I don't know, man. First, I'm moving Michigan to win the whole damn thing, the whole tournament. I don't know. I still have some doubts about Michigan. I have some doubts. And we keep using the whole you don't think Michigan do the same thing that Bama did to Georgia. The problem is that it was Alabama. It wasn't any other team. It was Alabama. And that's the thing. I like if Bama and Michigan plays, and we'll see what happens after this weekend. I would take Bama on a runaway. So I don't know. I'll take Michigan on the points. Definitely, it's a close game, but I think the big question here is what we saw of Georgia 3 weeks ago a sign of things to come? That's the question. Was that the anomaly? Was that the opponent more so more anything else? The sample tells you Georgia's the better team still, based on who they played and how they played.
I would argue Michigan has more quality wins than Georgia does.
If we're saying the Big Ten is on level, we still all year long, even with the Big Ten having 4 or 5 teams in the top 10, we were still saying, yeah, but these teams suck anyway. Penn State, whatever, Iowa. So again, it depends on how you view the Big Ten. Again, I'm rooting for Michigan the whole thing, so I'm not even trying to
who's Georgia's best win?
I gotta think back. I go to the schedule again.
Are you saying Clemson to start the year when it was a 10-3 game that it was a
yeah, of course, yeah.
Clemson turned out to be mediocre.
I mean, by virtue of the stats, obviously, I would say Michigan's better wins. But again, that's if you're trusting the Big Ten that the Big Ten was as good as we thought they were. That's all.
Fair.
Look, bottom line, I like Michigan the points here. It's a close game. I see, and I'm going to go under. I see a 23-20-ish type game here.
All right. Matt.
Yeah, well, I ultimately do think that Georgia does end up winning. I don't think it will be by more than a touchdown. It might be 7 points exactly, but I don't think it would be. So that I'll take Michigan plus the 7.5 because they could very well end up winning. I wouldn't be shocked if they did. So I think that Michigan with the points is the safe bet. And I think that the defenses on both sides both teams are strong enough that we're not going to see a shootout here. I don't think either offense is equipped for a shootout, as we certainly saw in the SEC championship game. Mm-hmm. And score aside of the Big Ten championship game, that the Iowa offense is just it's cute that they made it there, but that is what it is. So I think the under is a safe play. If you're doing a parlay, I would take Michigan plus 7.5 in the under. Right. I think you'll have a good day betting.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Adrian.
I just think on the end of the day, of these 4 teams, the big mystery is Georgia.
Yeah.
What we saw coming into the SEC title game, what we saw coming out of the SEC title game, it's night and day. So which one is real? Which one is the real Georgia team? You know what I'm saying? That's the big mystery here. I have an idea who Michigan is. I have an idea who Cincinnati is in Alabama. Georgia, and if you're saying that their schedule was not as good as advertised, if that's the argument here, Jim, which is actually is a good argument, versus also the idea that Big Ten had a lot of top 10 teams throughout the year, but again, a lot of them were Iowas and the Penn States of the world, and they faded out quickly. Michigan State's faded out quickly. That's the thing here. You can't. It's hard to pinpoint Georgia if what we saw was a sign of things to come. I would rather trust a larger sample than a small recent one, but that's just me. And again, Alabama was the team they lost to. On top of that,
and I mean the thing with Georgia is like looking over their schedule. I mean, like their schedule didn't turn out to be much of anything at all. Right. But I'm not taking away the fact that their average margin of victory was probably something in the high 20s or low 30s. I think the funny thing is I think their best win may have been that game versus Kentucky in October, the 30-13.
Yeah.
And they beat Arkansas. Teams that were ranked when they played them were Clemson, Arkansas, Auburn, and Kentucky. Obviously in Alabama, but they didn't beat Alabama. So like Kentucky is their best win. Maybe Clemson still may be their best win, but certainly not anything what Clemson was supposed to be.
Right, of course.
And Michigan, I mean, they played their best ball down the stretch. They finally beat Ohio State and beat them up ugly. Outside of that, you don't see murderers row through that.
And this is why we said this was a fascinating year, because a lot of things that we were starting to. So Georgia was a consistent up until the conference championship week. They were the consistent team of the year up to that point. Everybody else, like you bind this one team, then they get knocked out. Another team comes in and they get knocked out. Ohio State started slow, and we thought, they're done. Now they made a run late in the year for Michigan. So it was a fascinating year where we couldn't necessarily stick to a narrative with one team, because every time we thought the narrative was so, it changed.
Sure.
And then with Georgia, we thought, okay, well, at least Georgia's a consistent one. And then what happened in Atlanta early December? So it's one of those things where, are we believing the larger sample, or are we believing the short sample, but yet the short sample was the recent one and was against Alabama, who probably is the best team still in college football? That's the question.
I guess we'll find out over the next couple of weeks. Possible cancellations aside, but let's go.
Don't jinx it now. Come on now.
Let's go to the New Year's 6 games. We start Thursday night, 7:00 on ESPN. It is the Peach Bowl. Number 10 Michigan State, a 2.5-point favorite against number 12 Pittsburgh. 56 is your over/under on this one.
Would have been a great game if everyone didn't say I'm not playing.
Right. Yeah, that's always the big wrinkle in all of this.
Throw it to the wall. Whatever happens, whatever hits or sticks. I wouldn't bet it.
Because I assume Pickett's not playing, right?
Pickett's for sure out.
For sure out.
Walker's for sure out.
Right? What an awful game. Give me Pitt because they have the cooler uniforms. Pitt plus and the under because nobody's playing. Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take Pitt just because I don't really care for Michigan State. And yeah, the under because we're going to see 2 true freshmen at quarterback on each team and true freshman running backs.
Awesome.
a big 6-3 finish.
6-3.
EJ.
Thing sucks.
I'll take Pitt, man, and I'll take the under as well. Like whatever. Just here's a dart, throw it at the wall. Whatever happens.
Perfect. Fiesta Bowl, game that as far as I've seen, besides what Hamilton and Williams, I think most guys from Notre Dame, I haven't seen a lot dropping from Oklahoma State. But number 5 Notre Dame, a 1.5-point favorite against number 9 Oklahoma State. 45.5 is your over under this one Saturday at 1:00 on ESPN. I mean, no mystery. I'm not picking against Notre Dame in this one. I think this is one of the more, or probably the most, especially when you're looking at teams whose players are not playing in games that have been canceled. But I think as a college football game, this one's fascinating. You have an Oklahoma State team that was like a literal half inch from probably the college football playoff. You have a Notre Dame team that is playing with a chip on their shoulder after losing their head coach. And I think that's going to be the big difference. I said if once Brian Kelly left and they named Marcus Freeman the head coach, I said, man, what I wanted Cincinnati to get into the playoff, but I also wanted them to lose because I wanted to see what Notre Dame could do with this fire behind them with the new head coach. So I think Notre Dame wins this one. I think they're going to win it handedly. F it. I'll pick the over. EJ.
Notre Dame in a runaway, honestly. And I'll take the over as well.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, make it a clean sweep. I think -1.5 is pretty much a pick 'em at that point. So
sure.
Notre Dame either way, and definitely the over. I think even though Notre Dame's defense, I think, really turned it on towards the end of the year, I think Oklahoma State has enough that they'll score a few touchdowns as well.
I also think they're fired up too with the new coach. Also, there's something to play for here.
Yeah,
even though the whole game doesn't really matter, but it's something to play for. So Notre Dame, I think, will play for their coach, of course.
Yeah, I think they want to get that win for him and start things going in the right direction before a big opening game to start next season. So
yeah,
Rose Bowl, number 6, Ohio State, 4.5-point favorite against number 11, Utah, 64.5 is your over-under. Saturday at 5 o'clock on ESPN. Saw a bunch of guys have dropped from Ohio State for this game. I still don't think it's going to matter. I don't think Utah's that good. Give me Ohio State plus and the over. Matt.
So Ohio State's getting 4 or giving 4.5?
They are a 4.5-point favorite.
Okay, yeah. Either way, I think you could give 14.5. I think Ohio State covers that. Nothing against Utah, but their signature win is what, Oregon twice?
Oregon twice, yeah.
Oregon's not that great of a team anyway, so I'll take the over as well, just because I think both teams have the ability to score a lot of points, but I think Ohio State wins handily.
All right, EJ.
There you go. Sorry about that. I'm gonna go differently. I'm gonna go Utah here. Just cause. I'm pretty upset. Fuck it. And plus, I hate Notre Dame. I hate Ohio State anyway too. So.
I hate Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, they're my bottom 3 worst teams. I can't stand in college football. Well, give me Utah just because I want to, and I'll take the over as well.
Okay,
I mean, you're getting 4.5 points too, so you might come within a field goal.
There you go. Who are the 3 that you hate the most? What, Miami,
Florida,
and Ohio State?
Miami. Well, I don't know if Miami's is top bottom 3, but they're definitely close to it. Definitely.
Florida State fan? You're going to tell me Miami is not your most hated?
You said that the Florida State-Miami rivalry
it
is one of the best.
But there is some respect though between the two schools to some degree. There is some respect to the schools. We both hate Florida. Both schools hate Florida.
I mean, we say this, and Jim roots for Michigan every week too, as a Notre Dame fan. So,
no, I would say
whatever you got to tell.
I would say definitely Florida, definitely Ohio State, and I guess it's tough between Miami and Notre Dame. I guess you pick it.
I mean, I don't know why Notre Dame and Florida State hasn't been a rivalry since what, 93?
Yeah, like how is it not Miami?
Well,
it's easily
Notre Dame. Well, you guys made it easier to hate Notre Dame anymore. You guys made it easier to hate Notre Dame. So. I mean, hey,
God, man, I'm almost gonna call in your Florida State.
I mean, Jim, who are your bottom 3?
USC for sure.
Ding, same.
They're close too. USC's at my bottom 5, definitely.
Penn State, because I live in Pennsylvania.
Yep, that's in my bottom 3.
Man, and like I feel like I almost want to say Alabama right now because I'm just so sick of them. So yeah, I'll probably go Alabama because, like, I mean, in a previous life, it probably would have been Michigan.
Right.
Personal preservation keeps me from.
I mean, you have a reason.
Michigan's top 2 for me. Michigan's top 2.
Maybe. I mean, I would even like Michigan State probably could have made that cut a while ago, but Notre Dame doesn't play them as much anymore.
You have 3 favorites, like teams like you have your favorite. Of course, you have 2 of those that you kind of like. Like I like mine's Florida State up number 1. But then you got
Matt. Who's your third?
My third is Michigan.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Makes sense. There's a rivalry there. Do you have like favorites and stuff? Like maybe a top 3 favorites, even though you have the number 1, you have 2 schools that maybe like below that you respect a little bit.
I mean, so it's like Notre Dame, obviously 1.
Right.
Michigan would be my 2 now.
Right.
See, my wife loves Penn State, and they're still in my bottom 3. I actively root against them.
My wife holds zero influence about my team. Sorry about that. No, mine is obviously Florida State number 1, but I got Michigan number 2, and then I have Auburn number 3. Actually.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's other schools that like I'll watch and actively root for. For a while, Wake Forest was kind of fun to pull for, and now they're not anymore.
They're just sad.
Yeah, it's just it is what it is.
Michigan State's also kind of weird too. The one I kind of root for once in a while, Michigan State, because Matt Johnson went there. So
okay, I mean, I always kind of liked Oregon because like the uniforms and their fight song is my high school alma mater.
Oh, nice.
So I would probably go Oregon probably as my number 3 if I had to go number 3, or like Army/Navy because like. Right. It's always kind of a cool
Yeah, even though Navy is a rival, there's just such respect with that one that
Yeah,
I'll
it's
always
not.
root for them when they're not playing Notre Dame.
Yeah, it's not. It's not like an ugly game between the two.
Right. Exactly.
All right, one more New Year's Six game before we move to the NFL. We got the Sugar Bowl. The number 8 Ole Miss 1.5-point favorite against number 7 Baylor. 55 is your over under. 8:45 Saturday night on ESPN. Good Lord. Old Miss plus, I get. I don't know who's playing. Like the Big 12 still just feels just gross, like not good at all. Like I'm not saying Old Miss is great, but I'll go Old Miss plus and the over because I just feel like neither of these teams are going to care about defense. EJ,
Baylor over next.
Matt.
I actually will take Baylor as well and the over. I think they're riding the high after knocking out Oklahoma State. I think they'll carry that momentum.
All right, very good.
Also, football season. Who cares?
Yeah,
I usually do, but this season it's just been so tough between players leaving and like half the rosters being decimated due to COVID.
Well, that doesn't help either.
Yeah.
But
we lost you again, EJ. Last couple of years, like I know we were talking about this last week with Kyle.
Yeah.
Like, just the last couple of years, if it's not Notre Dame or now with Michigan, like I don't care. And even like the playoff games, the last couple of years, it's like why am I going to waste time watching Georgia, Clemson, or Alabama go to a championship again? So like at least give me at least this year that there's at least a hope of possibly something a little bit different.
Right.
There's no hope.
There's no hope. We're dope.
Yeah. All right.
Gambling purposes only is the reason I watch these bowl games.
Exactly. It's the only reason why I even give it them is to be generous. That's it.
There you go. Unfortunately, just this evening, breaking news coming across the line: the legendary John Madden, head football coach with the Raiders, longtime broadcaster, and much more. Just like ambassador for the game of football, passing away at the age of 85. The NFL released a statement. It was unexpected. And like so we we couldn't not talk about it. I mean, for three of us and anybody kind of in our generation or a little bit younger and older, like John Madden goes hand in hand with the game of football. From I mean, we were talking a little bit before we went on air. I mean, growing up, the memory I have of football, because the way it was covered when we were growing up is not the same it's covered now. It's not this regional coverage and all of this. I mean, it was the biggest teams were on TV pretty much every week. So that's kind of how one of the main ways I fell in love with the Cowboys is they were on my TV every single week growing up when I was starting to learn and watch the game of football. And most of those times, John Madden and Pat Summerall were calling those games. Like, he's the voice of my childhood. And, I mean, I was looking back over the list of Madden football games. And I think I played like the first, if it wasn't the first one in 88, I know for a fact I played the one that came out, like the second John Madden football that came out in 1990, which then of course birthed into the Madden NFL.
Wasn't 90 the first one though? 90 the first one?
88 was actually the first one. It was it came out for MS DOS and the Commodore 64. It then then came out in 1990 with Sega Genesis with the same
right
game.
That's the one I had also.
Okay, so yeah, that's what it was. So that was the first. The one in 1990 was the first one for actual like game.
Right, that's the one I recognize.
So it that's where it started for me, man. Like it started with the very first one, and I still play them to this very day. I mean, it's obviously changed a bit. Madden doesn't even have his voice on the game anymore, but I mean, the guy's a legend. The guy's an absolute legend. And I know we recorded the documentary the other night. I want to make sure I sit and watch that over this weekend because I heard it's just phenomenal. But man, EJ, I'll go to you first. Your thoughts on the passing of John Madden?
Yeah, well, us three, I got all NFC East fans here, Eagles fan here, Cowboys, Giants, and obviously Madden played a tremendous part in especially broadcasting games that the Eagles, Giants, or Cowboys are on, especially in our childhood. You know, when I got into football, that was my first exposure, you know, to broadcasting was Pat Summerall and John Madden. That was my first major exposure of, you know, football. And it's like every big game, obviously they were the 18. They are Summerall and Madden is basically what Joe Buck and Joe Troy Aikman is to Fox, or what Jim Nantz and Tony Romo is to CBS. And even bigger than that. It's weird you can compare it because Madden and Summerall, I mean, they are in not just football, but like the sports as a whole, are the creme de la creme, Mount Rushmore of best broadcasting teams in anything, including wrestling. Like it just fit. It was beautiful. And if you wanted to be a broadcaster or whatever, that's kind of how that was the standard. Do like Summerall, do like Madden, because Madden was great. Madden was as great. Summerall set him up so well, and Madden just came in with his little, you know, the charts and all the little cool things he did. God, he was so great, man. And the thing was, he was so simple. It wasn't like he was like trying to be like this, like, oh, like, I'm out teach the room. He kept it simple, you know. And I love when he'll like you know, replay a play and then say like a hitter, linebacker hits the running back, he goes boom. Yeah, it's just those little things he did made broadcast special.
Yeah, like I saw a video the NFL posted, like NFL media, and like he was talking about like why he used the word boom, and it was so simple because I'm like if two men of that size hit each other that hard, that's what it is. Like it's a boom. So it's like, you know, it's so simple, but like, you know, sometimes I feel like broadcasters they try to carve out their own like niche in the world of broadcasting. They almost almost make it too complicated.
I shared tonight too, also, and I shared in our text as well, Jim. You know, Pat Summerall and John Madden had broadcasting certainly one of my biggest childhood moments in sports, but certainly one of the top 3 or 4 moments in sports history for me anyway was the NFC title game, 1990 Niners and Giants. And, you know, that was a big moment for me because the Niners were on the verge of three-peating, 2 wins away from being the only team to three-peat in NFL history. And the Giants won that game in Candlestick Park to go to the Super Bowl against Buffalo. And if you watch that last 2 minutes, I shared that clip prior to the kick and just them talking about the kick and talking about what the Matt Barr was saying to, you know, and he stays 10 feet away from the players to calm himself down, this and that. And things like that, man, is what made him so special. And that, of course, that kick was, you know, incredible. And, you know, Summerall saying there'll be no three-peat. To this day, music in my ears. Love it.
Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think Madden himself was so generational just for the things he did outside of the sport of football. Mm-hmm. A lot of the pop culture things he did, you know, as kids, the film Little Giants, I remember John Madden being a big part of that. And the turducken being like a huge thing that everyone talked about on Thanksgiving Day with football, and the Tough Actington acting commercials. And of course, the video game. I mean, how many kids these days watch football because they got into Madden football through the video game? I remember a lot of nights in college that I spent playing that video game. And I think that kept my interest in football for quite some time. Not that I had ever really lost it, but I mean, playing the game, you get to know the different players. I mean, I think fantasy kind of became what it was because so many people had these different interests in the video game. Not that, you know, Madden developed the video game, but his name's tied to it. And so it's synonymous. So that's something that I think a lot of people don't even really think about in terms of why, you know, football is important to them and how many of those significances can be tied back to John Madden and, you know, his acting, you know, being in films and making sure that he was kind of the face of the NFL for different movies that had football ties to them. I think it's a huge thing that he just kind of bridged that gap towards a lot of people who then saw the guy and then started listening to him call games and got more into football. And I think that needs to be noticed. I mean, is just the importance outside of the game he had beyond just what he did as a coach, as a commentator.
It gets forgotten too, because like his broadcast career was so great that you forget he actually won a Super Bowl as it was a pretty successful coach in the 70s.
Oh yeah,
because the Dolphins are so big.
Yeah, I mean, I think people a little older than us probably remember him more as a coach because that was that was before my time. So, generations before us have a different attachment to John Madden. I mean, they love him as a broadcaster too, but I mean, knowing him as a coach as well. There's this funny, it's an amusing clip. It was a Cowboys game, and they were talking. Him and Summerall are talking about Troy Aikman trying to grow a beard, and just they're like the humor that they incorporate into their broadcast, like a 40-second clip. I'm gonna hit here.
And you noticed Troy Aikman trying to grow a beard, and he just can't do it. I mean, the blonde-haired guys, a lot of them have trouble, but I can't even. I'm looking as close as I can, and I can't see any beard. But that's a 4-day beard, isn't it? It's a passive attempt. It's very, very passive. Here's Terry Allen. Out to about the 20. There it is. Here it is. But see, I mean, he got a little in here and a little up there. Here, but he doesn't have anything here at all. Watch when you
drawing it up.
I was going to say, I could see him drawing all over the screen. The Madden pen.
I know, but I don't think he's doing a very good. I'd quit. I mean, and you noticed Troy Aikman's
just a classic. I mean,
and notice how they space, both of the guys, they space, and they jump back to the game.
Absolutely. I think that's something that gets so lost, not just in football, but almost in every broadcast anymore. In any sport, in pro wrestling, I know the three of us are heavy into wrestling, is like commentators don't let anything breathe. Like, let the action speak, and it's we're watching it, we're not listening to the radio. Like, you gotta paint the picture on radio. We're watching the picture. You need to tell us every little thing that happens, and so and two, I think back and I compare it now, and I know the rules in the game of football have changed dramatically, and they've added so many more that nobody can keep track of all of them. But when you watch those guys, they knew, if there was a question about a play on the sideline, if there was a question about, not that there was a whole lot of questions about what was a catch and not a catch back then, but
right,
those guys knew. Like, they didn't have to go to rules experts, anything like that. They knew the game.
Right.
That's something that I think is lost now as well. Any other thoughts on John Madden, his life, his career, before we move on?
What question for you guys? I mean, you guys played video games growing up. What was your favorite Madden game?
Oh man,
it would either have been Madden 64, just because that's when I really got into it, or then, man, I can't remember. Probably like 08.
What was the one where Michael Vick was a cheat code? Was
04?
Like 04?
Yeah.
Mine stands out, man.
Yeah.
We're like some of those early those mid 90s ones, I want to say, like this, like the ones for like Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I kind of checked out for a couple of years in early 2000s, turn of millennium. My favorite one was 92, actually. I used to love using the Buffalo Bills. That Jim Kelly off of Thurman Thomas, and I'll admit this, even in the mid 90s, I actually didn't mind using the Cowboys as well. Just because
I always used the Steelers because Jerome Bettis could not be tackled in Madden.
Yeah,
or he bounced off of everyone.
Yeah,
you just hand it to Bus, an off tackle, and he'd take it 60 yards slowly.
Yeah,
but he'd get there.
Yeah, 04 has probably got to be my favorite. Like,
yeah,
you just whatever, because we would do seasons and with leagues with like friends of mine and stuff, and you would always do the fantasy draft, and you would try and make sure you get Michael Vick. If you got Michael Vick,
yeah, you
were golden.
So you remember
roll out?
Do you guys remember the early Sega Genesis from the early 90s?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the controllers had the inside the controllers, it had like a metal thing to catch it to snap it in.
Yeah.
Well, I got a Sega Genesis in 92 on my birthday, and there was unfortunately, one of my little brother and sister, I can't remember who it was, but one of them accidentally pulled the control while I was in there.
Oh,
so the thing bent. One piece of the control bent. So there's a glitch on the game as a result.
Oh.
So basically, for a good year or two, if I was running the ball, if you let it go by itself, it will go to the right automatically. So I had to make sure I had to enter it.
It sounds like the original Xboxes.
Yeah. It's so bad, dude. I remember
accidentally bumped the control stick.
Yeah.
Everything would just.
I remember having to use Derwin Thomas and whatever. Like, had to make sure not go to left, go to right. It was horrible, dude. But rest in peace. One of the all-time greats, Mount Rushmore broadcasters, play-by-play guys, certainly, influential on so many facets of his life. This one hit me hard. It did.
I would even argue if you're making a Mount Rushmore of football in general, Madden's probably on there just for what he did as a coach and commentator.
Yeah, as an influence on the entire sport, he's definitely in Mount Rushmore, without question.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's take a look at the playoff picture. We'll kind of do it the same way we did last week. We'll start in the AFC. We'll look at the standings and where we're at going into week 17, which is not the final week of the regular season anymore. The only team that has clinched a playoff spot in the AFC is the Kansas City Chiefs. They have clinched the AFC West.
Wait, my Chiefs. I claim that.
DJ, if we're going to start naming your teams, we're going to go a lot longer.
You have to give him that. He has been riding the Chief train for so long this season.
Yeah, okay.
Taking so much shit for it.
That shit right. You're gonna fucking nail me into the wall for picking them being my fire rank because he went 2-4, 2 and whatever. Be consistent and praise me, buddy. Let's go.
Then we have the Tennessee Titans, currently the second seed. They are leading the AFC South. The Bengals leading the AFC North, and the Buffalo Bills leading the AFC East. Your wild card teams as of right now are the Colts at 9-6, the Patriots at 9-6, and the Dolphins at 8-7. Teams still on the bubble in the AFC are at 8-7. Chargers, Raiders, Ravens, Steelers 7-1, and at 7-8 the Browns and the Broncos. We'll start here. Do the 4 current division leaders, well, I guess I should say 3 division leaders since the Chiefs have locked up the West. Titans, Bengals, Bills. Do any of them not win their division? Matt.
If anyone, I could see the Bengals not, but I would say that they do.
Okay. EJ.
Bengals do. They wrapped up this week. Not officially, but because of the big win against the Ravens, they now have a 2-game lead now, with 2 to go because of the tiebreaker. So Bengals will lock it up. I have confidence they'll finish the deal. And the Ravens schedule is not very pretty either going forward. Obviously Chiefs locked up already. I have look at the schedule for the Bills and the Patriots moving forward. Who's the other team there? Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee locked it up. Tennessee's schedule lightens up now. They passed a major test beating San Francisco last week on Thursday Night Football. That's a major win for them. So while the Colts were on fire, I just think Tennessee with the tiebreaker plus the game lead is just too much to get over to overcome.
Plus, so Wentz this weekend.
Well, although the new protocols may have him back.
With the new protocols, he could potentially be back. Yeah, and maybe Phillip Rivers will get called back. Hot rumors of the day. Yeah, I think out of these 3, unfortunately, the Colts I think can still still win out, but you're gonna, like we said, you're gonna need the Titans to lose a couple. I don't know if they will. To me, the one is the Bills. I gotta see more. They had a big win this past week, but I'm not 100% sold on them yet. So then,
so let's do this. I think Buffalo will close the deal. Their schedule is pretty promising. They got through the biggest hurdle this week, winning in Foxborough. Falcons next week, and then the Jets close the year out. That's their schedule.
I mean, by all accounts, they should win those, but they've lost games that they shouldn't have lost already this year.
Right. The Patriots, meanwhile, I know one is the Dolphins. The other one this week they play the Jaguars. So a little more of a hurdle for the Patriots. And for the record, the Pats do not play well historically in Miami this time of year, especially too. So it's something to look at, even with Brady.
Wild card teams: Colts, Patriots, Dolphins. Do you think any of them do not make the playoffs?
Colts are in. Colts are in. I already said it 2 weeks ago. Colts are in. Who's on the team? You said the
Patriots and Dolphins.
Pats are in as well too. They'll find a way to get in no matter what. The Dolphins are the one it's the weird one, and their schedule's a little toughy to end the year. They play Tennessee this week, and they play, as I said, the Patriots to close out the year. So the Dolphins are a little more of the on the edge thing. We'll see how that plays out. They do have the tiebreak over Baltimore, which is good for them. But I definitely lock up 2 to 3. Locking up definitely Colts. Locking up the Patriots.
All right, Matt.
I would say if any of those 3 don't make it, I would say it would be the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I know they've won 7 in a row, but they haven't really beaten anybody in that 7 in a row. So these next 2 weeks are going to be pretty telling for
they
them.
Certainly put a hurting on Ian Book.
Oh yeah.
Whoa. Yikes.
I'll tell you what, as a Dolphin, I live in Dolphin country, of course. Those losses to Atlanta and Jacksonville look bad right now because those are wins because they lost by field goals in those games.
Yeah, they're in the driver's seat if they don't lose those.
They might be the division leader.
They probably are, yeah.
So
I mean, if you take 2 more wins, they'd be 10-5, which would be one better than the Bills.
Yeah. So I mean, when I say every game matters in the NFL, it really matters.
Sure does. Absolutely. I mean, when you only have 17 now, I mean, it's still it's a small margin of error. It's a small margin of error.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's look at the NFC. Packers have clinched the North. Cowboys have clinched the East. The Rams have clinched a playoff spot, lead the West. The Buccaneers have clinched the NFC South. The Cardinals have clinched a playoff spot. They are currently second in the West. So 5 out of 7 playoff spots in the NFC have been locked up. There are 2 still in play. Your wild card teams, if this playoff started this week, would be the 49ers 8-7 and the Eagles 8-7. On the bubble are the Vikings, Falcons, and Saints at 7-8, and Washington at 6-9. Okay, so we'll start with the division. The only division still in doubt: Cardinals or Rams. Do the Rams lose their grip on the West, or will they clinch the division? Matt,
I'd say they clinch. What we've seen out of the Cardinals the last few weeks is that they might win their games, but I think that the Rams are the safer pick at this point to hold on.
EJ.
All 4 of these teams are going to win the division. Well, obviously, Packers and Cowboys did. Rams will win the division, and mostly because of the Cardinals not doing the job. Put it that way. Bucks, of course, I think they won the division too. As well.
Yeah, that's already locked up. Yeah, I agree. I think the Rams are trending in the right direction. The Cardinals are trending in the wrong direction.
In fact, I'll go further. What you see here, these 7 teams, this is your playoffs right here. Nothing changes. Just 2 weeks. This is
Okay,
it.
so you don't think that any of the teams on the bubble looking in will catch San Francisco or Philly?
No.
All right,
Because look at schedules.
Matt, how about you?
I don't think so either. I think the Vikings have to play the Packers this week. Is that correct?
Correct.
I think the Packers are still playing for the 1 seed, so they're going to trounce them.
Yeah.
And the Saints are pretty much out of it, even if they would come back and win their last 2. Philly just needs to win 1. They already have the tiebreaker. So I think that what we're seeing is what we're going to get.
Yeah, I'm looking at it this way. The 49ers have the Texans and the Rams. I know the Rams could still catch the number 1 spot, but they probably won't. So how much are the Rams going to be playing for in that final week? Especially with the Cardinals trending the way they are. The Eagles, they have what?
Washington
and the Cowboys.
And the Cowboys. But they can clinch with a win and a Packers win this weekend.
So by all accounts, the Eagles are probably going to lock it up this week. Saints bad. Washington has to win out and what probably still get help somewhere.
A lot of help, I think.
Probably not happening.
Giants are out, right? Giants are out. It's real clear.
Yes. I think they were out in
11.
or something like that.
I think they were out in week 2.
Week 2. I had them out week 2.
I look at it this way: the Falcons have the Bills and the Saints. So the Saints have the Falcons and the Panthers. With what's going on in New Orleans right now, I have no confidence that they can do that.
No.
and the Vikings have the Packers. Not going to beat the Packers this week, especially because it's going to be in prime time. And then they play the Bears, but with that Week 18 matchup shouldn't probably even matter because the 49ers, Eagles are probably going to lock things up this week. I think these are your 7 teams.
It's over.
All right, let's go to the pick'ems. We'll go through those, and then we'll analyze EJ for this week.
Pick him fraud me like a fucking surgeon.
You're the science experiment. All right, let's start Sunday, 1:00. The 11-4 Chiefs are a 5-point road favorite at the 9-6 Bengals. 49 is your over under this one. 1:00 on CBS. Both teams trending in the right direction. The Chiefs still on a roll, but I can't discredit them. It's unfortunate. I've been trying to discredit them for a number of weeks, and it's becoming harder and harder to discredit that team. But
you're trying though.
I'm trying, but I still don't think in this stretch they've really had a challenging opponent, my Cowboys included, and EJ's Cowboys, of course. But I like the Bengals at home here, at least to cover. I'm going to take them to win outright. I think coming off that huge win last week, there's a swagger with this team. I think they really are starting to feel it. They want to lock everything up this week. So I like the Bengals at home, and I'm going to take the over. The Chiefs defense is not very good. They've looked better over the last month, but look at who they've played over the last month. I think this is going to be an eye-opening game there, and the Chiefs can score. They've been that offense is starting to move in the right direction. So definitely taking the over, Matt.
So I think that swagger is going to come crashing down when they don't get to play a third-string quarterback who was just signed minutes before the actual kickoff game. I think that Pat Mahomes is kind of leading this team. They want to win. They want to keep making statements. So I will take the Chiefs to win and Jackson Mahomes to TikTok dance on the 50-yard line.
Matt. All right, EJ.
People like you is why the Chiefs keep winning games. You know that, James, right? You keep talking about the team all the time, and this will keep happening. Strange thing here too, though. Like the line opened at Chiefs minus -1 to like -5.5, like in the span of 2 days.
Well, Vegas bet big on Chiefs -1.
Look, I think it could be a close game. I might say 6-9 points here, to be honest with you, but KC has something to play for still because they can't. If Tennessee keeps winning and Chiefs has one hiccup, Tennessee's number 1 seed. In case we don't know that, Tennessee did beat KC this year, early in the year. So KC has something to play for. So I like the Chiefs win this game. You know what? Screw it. I'm taking Chiefs to cover this game. Let me flip that up because the Chiefs need this game badly. And I think they're in a point now where they hear people like Big Jim here doubting the team every week. So we're gonna put your foot in your ass and whatever. So give me KC and give me the over.
Hey, fuck you, buddy.
All right. Dolphins, the 8-7 Dolphins at the 10-5 Tennessee Titans, a 3-point home favorite. 41 is your over under. This one 1:00 on CBS on Sunday.
Huge game.
It is a big game. I mean, the Dolphins can what? They can clinch. Probably clinch their playoff spot if they.
No, they need to win two.
Virtually, they're in the driver's seat. You know what? Screw it. If I'm going to keep banging the drum on this Tennessee team not being as good as their record shows, I might as well make a pick for it. So I'm going to go Dolphins to win outright, and obviously going to cover that 3. I'm going to go under. The Dolphins defense is real good. They're going to contain the Tennessee offense. I'm not a huge fan. I mean, Waddle's looking real good, but I don't have the utmost confidence in the Dolphins offense. So I'm going to go a slight under that 41. EJ.
I pray I'm wrong, man, but I think, God, Tennessee is playing good football now. Big win against San Francisco last week, man. A team that people were saying a little scary in the playoffs, and they'll make the playoffs. They'll get in. I hope I'm wrong, but I got Tennessee to cover 3.5 points slightly, and I'll take the under as well.
Matt.
I will take the Dolphins with the points. I think Tennessee wins on a last-minute field goal, and I certainly will take the under as well.
I mean, yeah, they beat the 49ers, but They've also lost to the Texans, the Patriots, and
Jets.
Steelers.
The Jets too.
I mean, just in the last like month. I'm just talking.
I mean, the Patriots and Steelers are teams in a playoff hunt still, though.
Yeah. I mean, the Steelers aren't good.
Look,
No,
I
not
know
at
you
all,
got
but-
to but
Are we
they are
saying,
not good.
look, I mean, are we saying they're Super Bowl contenders? No. Now, we had a debate about this actually earlier, Mr. Jim here, about the Titans, because there's rumors about Derrick Henry.
Oh, we lost you. Yeah, Derrick Henry possibly
Lost.
returning in Week 18.
And so, I mean, to me, that can change everything a little bit because of the fact that, you know, the AFC, while the Chiefs have been playing great football, there's no runaways in this conference. So anybody can make a splash at this point. So you add Derrick Henry to the mix, and this team becomes a team that, okay, if you get the right matchups and you know whatnot, they've beaten KC before already. Don't forget that. They've already beaten KC once. So that's a good win on their belt now. Just saying. I'm not saying Tennessee is a contender. I'm just saying the fact that.
Didn't you say that they're a potential?
No, I said with Derrick Henry if he's healthy.
But that's the assumption that we're going under, right? Like
Well,
that he's
there's rumors of him coming early in the playoffs. First they said the wild card weekend. Now they're saying week 18. So they're moving it earlier.
I just, and I mean, Derrick Henry is arguably the best running back in football. The only guy who even brings any question into that probably is Jonathan Taylor right now. So, let's call him 1 or 1A. I mean, but I don't have confidence in the Titans as a whole. Like that,
I don't either. But I'm just saying that.
Does it give them better odds? Sure, I'll 100% agree with that.
Jim, if the Titans were in the NFC, I wouldn't be saying this stuff because the NFC has way better teams across the board.
But I still think
wide open.
I still think that the Chiefs are better despite losing to them. I think the Colts are better despite being behind them in that division. I think that the Bengals are better than the Titans.
I mean, yeah, I can see what you're saying there, but here's the thing though: the two teams you mentioned there, they've beaten those teams already 3 times. The Chiefs swept the Colts. Look, we say this, but there are results to use, and I'm not a Titans guy. I think
the Colts also make it a stronger argument that they're probably not going to beat them a third time.
Probably not, but you play what you play in front of you. I'm not defending the Titans either myself, but when you add Derrick Henry to the mix, and there's no clear cut best team in the AFC, I'll say maybe the Chiefs now, but even that has some,
Oh, don't backtrack on the Chiefs.
No, they're not infallible. I'm not saying they're infallible. They're not infallible. They're infallible.
Man, you're trying so hard to make so many cases.
I'm just saying. Well, that's what we're here to do here. To have a conversation, and I just think Tennessee is with Derrick Henry. That's disclaimer. Healthy Derrick Henry, especially too.
Even if he's healthy, to me, they're not a contender. Did they get lucky? Sure, any given Sunday, but there's still at least 3, maybe 4 teams better than them, even with Derrick Henry. I think. Matt, any thoughts to Tennessee as a potential contender with Derrick Henry?
Why not? the
coward.
Put me in NFC, different story.
I would say they're the favorite, but I mean, if I'm picking a team, if you said pick 3 teams that you think would come out of the AFC, I think the Titans would be one of them, honestly.
With Derrick Henry, right?
With Derrick Henry.
And healthy, of course.
Yeah. I mean, that's the assumption that we're going off of. All right. Sunday, 1:00 on Fox. You have the 8-7 Raiders at the 9-6 Colts. I'm sure this line is going to move because, and it may have already moved from the time I put it on the sheet. So I don't know if you have something updated.
Don't move the half points.
I had it at 7.5. Is it?
It's still there.
Okay.
Some has 6. Some have 6. One has 5.
Carson Wentz may or may not be playing for Indianapolis. Tested positive for COVID, but now with the new the new quarantine regulations, he could potentially be back depending how he tests later in this week. 45.5 is your over under, like I said, 1:00 on Fox. With or without Carson Wentz, I don't think it's going to matter. The Raiders are a team that is absolutely trending downward. The Colts, because who's their? I don't even know who their backup is. Is it still Jacoby Brissett?
No, he's in Miami.
He's in Miami.
Yeah. He was two backup for a couple games.
Could have sworn it was.
Something new today.
No, he 2-1 a couple weeks now. He was a quarterback.
It doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter. Jonathan Taylor is your breadwinner in that Colts offense. The Colts defense is just playing all over the place. They're gonna swamp the Raiders.
It's Sam Ellinger.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
I have no idea who that is.
If Carson Wentz doesn't play, maybe the Raiders cover 7.5 by like a half point or so. But the Colts are going to win this game. I'll go the under right now just because Wentz is potentially out. EJ.
So I haven't said this in a couple of weeks, but the Raiders are kind of frisky.
Oh my
Kind of frisky.
God!
They won this week. They won this week. It's Denver.
That is a disgusting act.
Can we get the good? You need to leave.
The Cowboys a couple weeks ago. I mean, they're still 7-7 hanging around. No. First game was a gambling. It's a big spread here. Okay, it's a touchdown spread. So I'll take the Raiders on a point.
Fuck yourself.
Colts still win the game. Raiders on the points and give me the over.
Raiders
over.
44.5.
The over.
Yeah, the over.
Oh my God! Thank you.
Listen, listen. 2 last 2 weeks, I was 5-0 on my picks of the week. Just saying.
Well,
that streak is bound to be broken.
Always got to come to an end at some point.
Just saying. WCW. Just kidding.
If you are picking a week to not take betting advice from EJ, this would be the
now.
week.
That being said, I'm not picking this game in my best 5. So let's put that
I
way.
was going to say, go ahead and pick this one. I dare you.
But I have a good track record. I'm 15-30 this year. So.
Well, very good. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I will take the Colts because if you've been watching the Colts recently, you know that Carson Wentz doesn't have to throw the ball for them to win games, and that's not going to change against the Raiders. And give me the under.
All right. So I don't know what bowl game
The
SEC
over.
lost. Maybe the
44.5, and you're taking the over on that.
If I'm right, come at me.
Okay.
Come after me.
I'm 40.
all right. The SEC apparently 0-4, 0-5 if you count A&M forfeiting because of COVID. Hopefully that trend rolls right through this weekend.
Unfortunately, it won't. But
like I said, I got to hold on to hope. Hope is a dying commodity. EJ.
Awesome prayers.
8-7 Eagles, 3.5 point road favorite at the football team, who's barely clinging to life at this point. 6-9. 46 is your over under 1 o'clock on Fox. I'm going Philly plus. Like they're just the Washington has shown nothing over the past week that gives me any indication that if the Eagles lose this game, it's on them. It's not anything Washington's going to do. And I will go. What did the Eagles put up a week ago against Washington? Did they put up
27, right? 27
covers 27.
They cover spread
or something.
Yeah, they covered the spread.
They scored a lot. I mean, they were playing.
It was raining heavily that night too.
Oh, that's right. I'll take the over. Hell, the Eagles might.
It was Tuesday also too. So I mean, weird.
Yeah, that's true. I'll go over. I think the Eagles have. Looking what Dallas just did to Washington, Eagles might go over by themselves. Matt.
Yeah, even with Heineke coming back this week, I believe. I think that the Eagles, despite their slow starts the last 2 weeks, kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel here. So I think that this week is when they put it all together, just to try to give themselves an opportunity to not have to play to win in the last week of the season. So I'll take the Eagles and the over.
You play to win the game.
EJ.
Yeah, I'm with Matt here too. Painful to say it though, but the Eagles covered this game. Washington's packed it up, man. They're ready to go. So
then we got
give me the I'll take the under this game actually.
I didn't know you could say the under. Rams 11-4. They are a 3.5 point road favorite at 8-7 Baltimore, who absolutely needs to win to have any hope. 46.5 is your over under on this one. 1 o'clock on Fox. You know, I'd love to pick Baltimore. I'd love to take Baltimore at home. I don't know what the status on Lamar Jackson is. If he comes back and gets healthy, they're obviously in play. But to me, they're trending in the wrong direction at the wrong. They're like the Cardinals at this point, trending in the wrong direction at the wrong time. A good team that's just, I don't know, running out of gas, injuries catching up to them, combination of that. And the Rams, they still have stuff to play for in the NFC. So I think I'm going to take the Rams. I'm going to take plus 3.5, and I'm going to go the over because I think you're going to see a lot of points in this one. And unfortunately for Baltimore, more from the Rams. EJ.
What are the odds of Lamar playing this game, actually, though? I mean, is there any clue about him playing?
I have no clue because the league I had him in, I've been dead in for weeks. So I've lost all track of Lamar Jackson.
Here's the thing. If Lamar plays this game, I'm picking Baltimore to win this game outright. You know what I'm saying? He's that big a difference between them winning and losing this game and in terms of spread.
But he's been out for so long. You think he can just come back and turn it in against the Rams defense?
Yeah, like that.
No, odds. The odds are that it's possible Baltimore might be trying to preserve him for next year. I think they see right in the wall at this point. You know, you're behind the Bengals in the division as it is. The only hope they get in the playoffs is the wild card. And
I mean, that's probably why they've been going for 2 game situations every time.
Yeah.
Just, if we get this, great. If not,
I'm going to assume Lamar's not playing, so I'm gonna take the Rams to cover, and I'll take the under in this one.
Let's see. Yeah, there hasn't been anything. Again, Tuesday is your first day of the week the teams really practice, so nothing really came out today. He has not even practiced since sustaining an ankle injury week 15. You know, they'll probably know more tomorrow, but they may not even depending.
Will Huntley start this game?
Huntley will probably clear protocols, especially with the new protocols in place. So Huntley should be back. I still don't think it's going to be enough.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think Huntley makes a difference. I don't even think Lamar coming back in his first week would make enough of a difference for the Rams to lose this one. I would take the Rams and the under.
All right. And then finally, Sunday afternoon, 4:25 on Fox, the 10-5 Cardinals at the 11-4 Cowboys, who are 5.5 point home favorite. 50.5 is your over under on this one.
Homer.
I mean, I'm taking the Cowboys plus, but to me, it's more about what I've seen from the Cardinals over the last 3 to 4 weeks. They're a team that, yes, they've clinched a playoff spot. They're going in the wrong direction. They've lost all bits of their identity at this point. You know, the Cowboys looked really good 2 days ago, but you're playing a Washington team that is pretty much just quit and spent more time fighting themselves than playing for a win. So, you know, I'm not overreacting to the Cowboys, but I'm taking the Cowboys plus. I'm going to go the over because actually, no, I think I'm going to take the under 50.5 because the Cowboys are probably going to score points, but with the way that Cowboys defense has been swarming, I don't know how many points the Cardinals can score. So give me the Cowboys plus, but the under, Matt.
This is the week the Cardinals finally turn it around, baby. No, it's not. I'll take Dallas and the under.
Finally.
That's the kiss of death right there, Jim. I'm sorry.
Probably. EJ, you shut your goddamn mouth. EJ, go ahead.
No, I actually think Arizona puts up a fight here. I like them on the points. I think Dallas wins the game. This could be a field goal game. I think Arizona will put up a fight here, but Dallas wins this game. So Arizona points plus 5.5, and I'll take the under as well.
All right, and then finally we go to this, and I'm so bummed Kyle's not here. I hope he listened to this because it's time to look at EJ's power rankings. It is tool time, everybody.
Oh my God! Here we go.
So let's take a. Come on, if I'm going to call this segment what it is, I might as well at least bring the music to the party.
Number one. Look at number one. Look at that number one there. Is it this side there?
Oh boy. All right, let's start with the bottom 5 because I think Matt and I will at least agree with you.
Spot on.
This was actually the hardest of between the two. Was the hardest to do the bottom 5 match this week.
It's about time that you put the Giants in their rightful place. I've been calling for this since week 1.
They were there. They were there in the bottom 3 for a good while in the middle of the year, and then they started.
I still have
too
the
high.
Jags. I still have the Jags as my worst, but otherwise Texans, Lions, Jets.
So
Jim, the Giants benched Jake Fromm.
They are a bad football team. You have to throw out records.
No idea.
You got to throw out records. Right now, if the Giants play the Texans, the Lions, the Jets, or the Jaguars, right now, the Giants lose those games. That's how I'm basically about rankings. Forget records and all this stuff. Right now, where they are as a franchise, they are the worst team right now. If they play the Jaguars right now on Sunday, they lose to the Jaguars.
Especially if they bench Jake Fromm to put Glennon and his 3-foot-long neck back into the game to play the game.
Exactly. Out of my Giants fans,
you might as well see what you have with Jake Fromm at that point.
We saw enough.
Right. No. I don't know why they didn't switch to him sooner. The fact that they only played him this week and then took him, like, what are you
He wasn't playing.
Like,
poorly.
what are you doing? Is Greg Glennon your future?
The worst part is that you can see the effort of the defense. Like, that Eagles game was 3-3 at halftime.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the final score 34-10. Like, what are we doing here? Like, seriously, this offense sucks. Let's move forward. The Giants, all my Giant friends. Oh, you're a Giant fan. No, facts were feelings, guys. Hate to break it to you.
All right. Top 10. So you have Chiefs, Packers, Rams, Bucks, Cowboys is your top 5. Colts, Cardinals, Bills, Patriots, and Titans.
You want me to explain my position on these on this real quick?
Sure.
Because the Titans one was a last minute change. I had the Bengals number 10 prior to
you should not have the Titans in your top 10 right now.
What pushed Titans for me was the quality win they had against San Francisco last week. On this show, and San Francisco, by the way, was the top 10 team last week on this ranking, just for the record. So let's look at it that way.
Too high.
Titans too high?
No, the Niners at 10.
Well, I mean, look at where we were last week through the league. The Niners were surging. Everybody was saying they could be the most dangerous team. They could win a playoff game. One point.
Man,
the only real issue I take with this list, I mean, I can even accept the Titans.
Were you joking about what I said? You said the list was good? Or you being serious with that? Because you said on Facebook.
No, I think it's fine. The only issue I would take is the Cardinals being at 7 at this point.
They didn't move. They were there last week too, for the record. And I got yelled at. Kyle said it was too low.
Well, Kyle's wrong.
Okay.
Kyle's.
And he's not here to defend himself.
Especially this week. I don't know where he would have him this week, but to me, they came in at 10. And for me, like if I just sketched out a top 10, like they would stay in the top 10, but they're not any higher than 10.
They would be number 10.
Yeah. The only reason they're at 10 is because I don't think there's anybody else that should be above them.
That's what I'm saying. I heard someone on Facebook too said that the Titans too high. Well, who are you putting in that place?
I mean, if the Bengals and Titans, I would say, can be interchangeable.
Could 10. I almost put Bengals at number 10, but the quality win there.
I don't think that Titans. I think that was more about the Niners just giving that game. I watched most of that game, like as much as I could. I watched a great part of the second half, and to me, I felt it was more about what the Niners didn't do than what the Titans did do. And so like to me, the Titans didn't do anything that said to me, we won this game. I thought it was more the Niners lost that game.
Right. The thing with the Titans, though, is they do keep finding a way to win, despite it all. I mean, when Henry went down, I think we all kind of thought that's the Titans' season right there.
Right.
So the fact that they are still leading their division and beating teams that they probably shouldn't be beating, you have to give them some credit for them. So having them in the top 10, I think, is fair. But if someone took them out of the top 10 and put the Bengals in, I wouldn't necessarily.
No, me either. I wouldn't have a problem at all. Like I said, I literally changed this like last minute. So I'm
To be
surprised.
honest, though, I might even take the Cardinals out of the top 10 after these last 2 weeks.
It's definitely. I tell you, they lose this weekend. They
Especially
could,
after that Colts game, that was a poor showing on both
Yes,
sides.
like
of the ball.
if you wanted to keep the Titans at 10, but pull the Cardinals out and put the Bengals in, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I think 10 is either like Titans or Cardinals. I think the Bengals are in above the 10 spot to me.
Right. What's the problem with number 1 though? I'm surprised.
I mean, I would keep the Packers at number 1.
Well, the Browns literally had the ball with a chance to win the game.
Right.
KC now is winning games dominantly. Now the style points are playing out with 1 and 2 here. KC's winning games now in a dominant fashion.
I mean, didn't the Packers have like 3/4 of their offense out on COVID? I mean, I'm not trying to justify not beating up the Browns, but like they were, wasn't like his number 1 target like the milkman at the gas station down the street from Lambeau Field. I
think it was one of the St. Brown brothers, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it was like Equanimous St. Brown. And don't get me wrong, that guy looked great at Notre Dame, but he's not exactly
look great
one
in the NFL.
One in the NFL. So I would have the Chiefs at 2 still. Like I just, they're winning games bigger, but again, look at who they play.
It's a game of inches though. 1 and 2 is also a game of inches though too. Also,
right.
And the Chiefs. I mean, it's not a real win because they beat Aaron Rodgers' Packers, but they did beat the Packers earlier.
Rams, Bucks, Cowboys. It's probably where I would round out my top 5. I know Matt would probably have the Cowboys higher, but we'll forget that one.
Yeah.
Colt. Now I'd probably keep the Colts at 6. I think they're definitely going in the right direction. Like I said, I would drop the Cardinals lower. To me, Bills, Patriots are about. I would still keep the Patriots higher, despite the fact that the Bills just beat them.
Here's the thing, though: which win was better? They played twice in the last month. To me, the Bills win in Foxborough was better than the Pats win against Buffalo
in the blizzard. Yeah.
I mean,
Buffalo is 1 play from winning that game in Monday Football.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Patriots had been on. I know they lost to the Colts the week prior, but they had been on a kind of a long roll on the winning side beforehand, and the Bills had kind of been down a bit. So again, I don't. You want to put the Bills above the Patriots? Fine. I have the Patriots above the Bills. That's kind of the Packers Chiefs to me,
right?
Like I don't think it necessarily matters either way. So yeah, I don't think you're, like I said, I have the Bengals I would have the Bengals around like number 9. I think they're better than the Titans. I think they're better than the Cardinals right now.
Sounds fun.
Yes, I know they beat up a bad Ravens team. I get it, but man, like when we're look at how we were talking about Georgia, like they didn't have great competition, but they kicked their ass. The Bengals may have not had great competition, but they kicked the shit out of them.
I might even bump the Texans out of the bottom 5 for like the Panthers or the Seahawks with this.
That was under consideration too. Also,
Seahawks are bad.
Carolina,
you hate to see it, don't you?
It's so disappointing to see a Pete Carroll team play that poorly.
It's a shame. Why do bad things happen to good people?
Just it sucks, man. 2021 strikes again, I guess. But yeah, I would have no problems if you want to throw the Seahawks in the bottom 5, Panthers in the bottom 5.
I mean, the Seahawks have just looked brutal.
The way they're going now, they'll probably be there next week.
Yeah,
good.
They should be. Yep.
Good. No problem with that. No problem.
Awful team. Awful.
So I saw some people hypothesizing where they think Russell Wilson may end up next.
Giants. Go.
Okay. Are you saying that you think he's going to end up there, or you want him to?
I'm also putting in existence. I also think that's very possible.
Okay. If not the Giants, where else do you think he may?
I can see Denver.
Okay.
I could see him in Vegas.
If they did try to cut Derek Carr, of course.
God, they should.
They should.
That guy stinks out loud.
Listen, the Giants look like they want to give Danny Dimes one more go around.
They have no choice.
Man,
it's his 5th year. On his rookie contract.
I mean, honestly, EJ, do you think Russell Wilson improves the Giants team?
Immediately. Yeah, absolutely. To me,
what's he doing in Seattle right now, though?
How much? Like, I'm not gonna. I will not say that Russell Wilson is not better than what
he's
the Giants have got.
100% better
He's
than
infinitely better than any of the options they have there.
Yeah.
But like, look at the Seattle team and what Russell Wilson can't do with what he has in Seattle this
He's still running for his life behind the O-line.
They're not good anyway. And to be honest with you, we've kind of been seeing this come for the last couple of years now. The team's been deteriorating slowly. And then when he gets hurt, they just fall apart.
Right. So I don't.
Right, but I mean, he's not going to stay healthy behind the Giants. I don't think it's smart for the Giants
to bring him in because
I think it's a waste of resources.
They're
going to have to trade a ton of draft.
The problem is though, the Giants don't have the trade capital to make it happen. They have 11 picks in this next upcoming draft, so they can work draft picks. The Giants' last 10 years has been a disaster. Okay, since Super Bowl 46.
I was going to say, the Giants have more than 11 holes they need to fill in the upcoming
I agree, but Daniel Jones is not the answer.
No, absolutely not. But wouldn't you rather find the answer in the draft?
Is a nearly 34-year-old Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Russell Wilson will be like Brady and play into his early 40s, I think.
Really?
He scared himself. This is the first year I got hurt.
I think he takes a lot more punishment than Brady did.
Okay, because he's a mobile quarterback, but in comparison to mobile quarterbacks, he's
a shorter shelf life for him. I don't like, and again, he makes the Giants better, but I don't know that he's worth what the Giants would have to give up to get him.
I think the analysis on this. I don't think that what it would cost to get Russell Wilson to the Giants in the long run is worth it.
I think at this point where the Giants have been for the franchise last 10 years, it's worth the risk because we've gotten worse and worse for the last 10 years. So,
well, a lot of that was just because of the marriage to Eli and the inability to cut that tie before it should have been.
Right. Agreed. Yeah. I actually agree with them going to take on Barkley at the time, but yeah.
That was a foolish pick.
No, I actually agree with it at the time, though, because at the time, the Giants are trying to win now, and they had the roster on paper to do it, and Saquon Barkley is just too special to not take a chance on. There was some run-of-the-mill running back, and we assumed that at the time, that Eli had maybe 1 year left in him. Could give me 1 more year, and clearly that wasn't the case. But again, that was the bet we made. I'm a Giants fan, that's the bet they made, and it failed. So
I didn't imagine that Saquon Barkley was going to battle Christian McCaffrey to figure out which young running back was going to be made out of glass more. That's what
But again, we didn't.
You can't foresee that coming.
Right? No one could plan that. I mean, and again, the Giants roster in 2017 when they drafted Barkley was still a pretty decent roster. It made the playoffs year before that. So.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if he's worth the call. I mean, it would probably make the fan base happy.
Yeah, and again, I
bring a guy like Russell.
There's a chance I'm wrong. It's 50-50 here, but at the same time, it's like what we have and what we've had for the last couple of years is not good and it's not getting better.
Oh yeah, definitely not getting better.
That's it.
But all right, let's wrap this thing up. Another good show, another good week. Matt, let people know what's going on with you.
Yep, you can follow me on Twitter. It's at 3CT, the letter A. Philly as in Philadelphia, the number 8. So 3CT affiliate. You can hear me on Thursdays talking wrestling on the 3 Count Thursday podcast. You follow them on Twitter at 3 Count Thursday. The person who runs that Twitter account really loves rumors that are unsubstantiated and all things AEW. So if you want to send links to those types of tweets onto that handle, feel free. Go Eagles,
yourself.
Go Notre Dame.
All right.
I'll just leave it at that this week.
Perfect. EJ.
Yep. Take the Rest of the podcast, of course, every Thursday. Wrestling Podcast. We're doing some cool upcoming changes to the podcast feed in the coming weeks and stuff. Look out for the announcement on that, on new concepts and stuff. And this is the last show of 2021. So, fellas, it's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely, it's been fun. Kyle, get well soon, my guy. Hopefully, you're back with us next week. You can follow me at Big Jim Sports. Make sure you're following the show at Huddle Up Podcast on Twitter and on Facebook. On Instagram, at Huddle Up Pod. You can get our merchandise at whatamaneuver.net. Subscribe to our show, all podcast platforms, as well on YouTube. You can check out our home network, NGSC Sports, at ngscsports.com. And our secondary home is the Lieb Sports and Music Network. Whatever you do this week to celebrate New Year, make sure you do it safely. Please mask up. Let's get out of this thing quicker than we have to. And until next week, stay safe, stay smart, go Irish, and go for the win.